M6, a helping hand with your land.
Neil from M62 here. I have to show you a new Curtis cab on this M59. One of the most popular videos on our channel, one that I did almost 5 years ago and has over 500,000 views now, was on the M62, the modern replacement to this tractor. One of the comments I made in that video, and one of the things that many of you have repeated to me in the comments over the course of the last 5 years, was the lack of a factory cab option for this series. So today I'm going to walk you around this one here from Curtis and show you how it fits onto this machine. Now, before we look at this cab too much, it's important to understand a little bit about the company that it comes from. This is not a cab that's built by Kubota, but you're going to find that it fits the machine here very, very well. Curtis is a cab manufacturing company up in the northeastern part of the United States, and their relationship with a lot of the companies that they work with goes far enough along to make these cabs often not feel like an afterthought. As years have gone by, as their relationship has gotten tighter with these manufacturers and their ability to make well-crafted add-on cab attachments has improved, cabs have changed from feeling like a lot of an afterthought or an add-on that I would describe as oftentimes not adding value to your tractor, to something that fits a lot better, follows the contours of the machine, and can have a lot of glass, giving you decent visibility. So while this isn't a Kubota factory cab, it very nearly is. Kubota does build the factory cabs for Kubota for some of the RTV series. As I understand, this very nearly became a factory cab in Kubota's own product line, but never did. Now today, this cab is sold for the M62, and you're going to notice that we fitted up to an M59. In Curtis's own book, going through and looking at the fit charts for this machine, this combination is actually not supposed to be possible. But this is a case where we understood enough about the older M59 to know that this cab was going to go onto this machine with only minor modifications. So if you have an M59 and you happen to walk into a dealership asking for one of these, you may get a little bit of resistance because, according to all the paperwork, this is impossible. There's a couple of places here where things don't line up quite perfectly, and places that we had to make small modifications. I'll point those out to you if you decide you want to go this route, but this is a glove fit for the M62 and a little bit of a fiddling around to get it onto an M59. Cab manufacturers have some unique things to keep in mind when they go and design cabs for machines like this. When you look at the TLB series, you'll notice they come with these 4-post ROPs, the structure that goes up and around and supports the cab up there on the top. This is more than just a fancy looking roof. These are actually safety certified for falling objects and that kind of thing, so that this equipment can go out and work on a job site. When they go to install a cab onto a tractor like this, they can't just remove those bits and drop a cab on top, because they're going to be messing with that safety equipment. So when you see cabs put onto machines like this, you're going to notice that the glass doors and the windshield and everything is worked out to fit inside of that ROP safety structure so that they don't need to mess with those bits. In the case of a machine like this, that kind of comes out being a really good thing. Because this is a tractor loader backhoe with a swivel seat, you've got a platform here that's nearly probably, 6 feet long from end to end and nearly 4 feet wide. So it's a very spacious interior that's encapsulated inside of this ROPS frame over top of it. Adding cabs onto a machine like this can have good and bad points, right? The good point being that it's going to keep you out of the weather. In the case of this, it's going to have heat on the inside. The bad thing being, though, the amount of noise that's created in the inside of the cab and the visibility loss that you have. There's a couple of areas in this where they do some things to try to remediate a little bit of that. So when you look down here at the floor, you'll notice you have a rubber floor mat. You have some additional floor mats that are added in the backhoe area. Then up here on the cab roof, you have some foam cloth headliners in order to try to dampen a little bit of that noise. That said, though, this is a loud machine. When you have this thing turned up and running at any kind of operating levels, I personally would be uncomfortable to be in here without wearing some kind of noise headphones in order to address that, because the cab holds that noise inside of this machine. That's one of those things that when you put an OEM cab onto a machine, that can be remediated a lot better than it can in this. In terms of visibility, you don't lose too much in this machine. Looking out the back from the backhoe's position, even when you're twisted around, you have a lot of glass and only a couple of posts back here to get in the way. This side cab door here, your main visibility point outside of the machine, is absolutely huge, so you can see that really, really well. Outside the right-hand side, though, you lose a little bit. You don't have your swinging door over here on the right-hand side because the heater unit itself is built in as part of the door, so you lose that bit. You do still have opening windows, so you can get some air in here, but I've lost a good chunk of my visibility going out the right-hand side. Now, one of the main selling features of this machine is this swivel seat backhoe. A lot of the people who opt to buy these buy them partly for their industrial nature, but also because this is a machine you can go from your forward loader position to your rearward facing backhoe position very easy. You can see here when I swivel that around, even with the cab functions, the cab features around me here, I still have plenty of room to swing my legs and move to the rear position. There is almost a laughable amount of windows in the back here. So I've got little side windows here that I can open. My front main window here in front of the backhoe kicks out. Even with this structure back here, you're going to have no shortage of places to get air back in through the cab. Now, in a machine like this backhoe does come off. You can remove the backhoe off the back of the tractor, so you're not stuck with it back here. And a 3-point hitch can be fitted to the rear of the machine as well. When you go to do that, this cab is made to come off with the backhoe, so you have some release pins up here at the top that will unlatch this portion of the cab from the back of the machine here, and when you pull the backhoe, you can actually have the cab go right along with it and stay with the hose. So it allows this machine to still maintain that 3-point hitch function even with the cab glass in place. Usually when you have an aftermarket cab, you have a modular heater tucked into the cab somewhere, usually kind of up on your front right-hand corner. And those are usually small self-contained units that are fairly generic and made to be fit to any machine. This one, though, is a lot different than that. The heating elements and everything are contained in the right-hand side of the door over here. And what's the coolest to me is the way that it's ducted around. The base of the cab right here underneath my windshield is actually used to duct that heat out and blow it up onto the glass and then down onto your legs. And even when you're in the backhoe position, you have a heater over top of yourself up here with 2 vents on it that you can blow right down onto yourself to keep yourself warm if you're digging in the wintertime. So in many of these situations where you have an existing machine and you'd like to add a cab to it, companies like Curtis have you covered. There's got a lot of options that this company has for different cabs for many of the different machines in Kubota's product line, and also a lot of the competitive manufacturers as well. In the cab space right now, if you're adding one on, this is by far one of your better options for the companies to go to in order to fit these kinds of things up. Now, as I said, this is a cab for an M62, and we're inevitably going to get questions about how you put one on an M59. So there's a couple of things that you need to be aware if you go down this road of things that don't work out exactly right. There's about 8 square inches here on either side at the bottom of this glass where the plate down here on the bottom doesn't match up exactly with the cab. There's also some holes you need to drill over here in the side in order to mount the cab structure onto this foot pan right here. That part changed out on the M62 and is a little bit different now. This tractor is equipped with rear remotes. The location of the rear remotes changed between the M59 and the M62. In the case of this machine, we added some hydraulic lines in order to move the couplers up to the newer location so those fit up properly. On the electrical side, the ground and power wires that they intended to be used on the 62 are not in the same place on the M59. Those are easy enough to find. And lastly, because the engines are different between these machines, we did a little bit of custom plumbing to get the hot water loop tied in for the heater in order to straighten that bit out. So all of these things aren't things that are, say, not achievable, but certainly things that are going to add to your installation time if you're trying to do one of these yourself. Now, that said, Kubota, it's been 5 years and I still want a factory cab on the M62. Now, I've asked for this a number of times now, and you continue to explain to me that I'm one of the only ones who wants it, but if you're a customer and you'd like to see a factory cab on a big TLB like this, leave it down in the description. These things hold a unique place in the market where you don't need a full-size machine, something you could trail around, still have a 3-point hitch, but for us in the northern states, we need cabs for snow removal, Kubota, and we surely like to see one. So while this is very close, this is an involved thing for us to do. It's a pricey cab, it's a long time to install, and the OEM solutions for this kind of stuff always get us to a better solution for our customers. So here's my call out. I've not forgotten. If you're shopping for a piece of equipment, or if you have parts or service needs for a machine you've already got, give us a call at Messick's. We're available at 800-222-3373 or online at Messick's.com. Popular videos that you'll find on our channel is one of the very first ones that I did almost 5 years ago on the M62, the replacement to this M59. It's kind of the modern version of it. That video has okay, stop. Neil from Messick's out to show you a new cab on this M59. Okay,